During his holdout, Zeke Elliott, Cowboys running back, going to Cabo. John Henry, if you were going to hide anywhere, where on earth would you hide?
It'd probably be a little hole in the wall called the poop deck in Fort Worth.
Gil Leverton, you going to Poop Deck, Cabo, or?
Probably after tomorrow, any Rangers game.
Ooh, that hurts, but he's right on it. Gil Leverton taking a shot at the Rangers. Welcome to PressBox DFW Live. I'm Richie Witt alongside two venerable Metroplex sports writers. He is Gil Leverton. He, most of the time, is John Henry. Season 2, Episode 8, and today we have a very special guest. It is our old friend and, golly, forever Fox 4 sports director. It is Mike Ducey. What's up, Deuce?
Hey guys, yeah, thanks for having me in. 25 years on this job. Can you believe someone whose toupee has remained
Amazing.
as beautiful looking as mine has through all the years?
Amazing.
That is the amazing
Been here a
thing.
while now.
So, are you in Foxnard?
I am,
I had to-
and
I had to
I never
cover
call
that.
it that on the air. I will hashtag it on
know.
Twitter. That was the genius of our promotions department.
It's not
And
bad,
what's
actually.
funny is there's a sign. It isn't bad. There's a sign right across the street from the hotel where a lot of us stay here in Oxnard, which welcomes us to the city of Oxnard. So
Yes.
if you crop it just right, it looks like it's Foxnard.
There you go.
Get it? So we have some fun with that.
I thought about having you on via Skype, but I caught some Good Day last week, and I didn't want to recreate that hostage video that you sent in. What was going on in your hotel room?
That's what it looked like, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it totally
it's
did.
Not enough just to do a phoner anymore. They have to put this
Absolutely.
supposedly an upgrade from Skype on my phone.
Yeah, I don't know about it. You make me need to rethink that upgrade package. It looked pretty rough. All right, so let's get to getting. I did catch Sunday your sit down with Jerry Jones, Cowboys owner, which was kind of newsworthy because you guys had a lovers' quarrel last year, I guess, where he didn't sit down. Take us through what happened. What was your spat about?
Well, we were set to last year record our interview 30 minutes ahead of airtime, just for convenience sake. He does everybody, all the locals and San Antonio stations. He does 8 or 10 of these in a row on a Sunday night at camp. So it made sense for us to record it, in this case, at 9:30 Texas time, to turn it around at 10 o'clock. The anthem issue was a hot issue at the time. As he was being driven up to our broadcast location, PR said, by the way, we're not going to talk about the anthem tonight. And we went back and forth a little bit. It wasn't necessarily contentious, but I just said, I can't really accept that as a last minute condition here. And so they basically said, well, that, you don't have to do the interview. And I said, well, I think I'll take a pass. So I did. And I think given the nature of the topic that was they wanted to avoid, it maybe blew up more than it would have otherwise. As I said at the time, I'm not sure I made the right decision. I told the viewers I'm not sure I made the right decision, given the fact I had a 6.5 minute hole to fill in the show.
Yeah, you had to do a little monologue.
But so that was that. And
I do remember that now, and you put that out on social media, and it was one of those that went viral, didn't it? I mean, you had all sorts of people from both sides saying you're a communist, to way to stand up for what you believe in, Ducey. I mean, it was polarizing, like a lot of things these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, given the nature of the discussion, and that really wasn't the reason why I made the decision I did. It's just any other hot topic that would have been out there had they wanted to avoid it. And had I been told at the last minute, it just wasn't something I could.
Yeah,
I think I'd be given a little more advance warning.
An interviewer Yeah, an
strategy.
interviewer never wants
And-
to have the questions dictated to him, right? That's kind of what you're standing up for. You're standing up for that more than the kneeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said at the time, and we did talk to Jerry, as you mentioned the other night, he's been, and you know this, you guys all know this, more accessible than virtually anybody in his position has been over the last 25, 30 years, however long individuals have been covering him in this market. And so usually I don't have a quarrel with that, but just in that one instance, I just felt that was a call I had to make.
Well, I still stand by you. That was the right move.
Somewhere along the way, the people who run the communications and PR departments of teams and schools, maybe even more so schools, have decided that they need to police the media rather than assist the media. And it's almost rare nowadays when we get to do an interview session where the PR person isn't hovering nearby. And I grew up in an era where people actually helped the media, and did it myself for a little while. And I think this is disappointing that they would dictate such a thing, but we all know that these are the rules that teams like the Cowboys have made, and we just try to skirt them as delicately as possible, right?
Yeah, and in fairness to Jerry, as I said, he's answered questions of just about every type through the years and put himself out there more than most owners have. And, he's a general manager as well, obviously, but he's used that to his advantage too. I understand that. He's used that to promote the brand.
Absolutely.
And, when he came out with us the other night, we had a little fun with it, and, he was able to try to sell his Zeke agenda, and I know we'll get into that, but it was just, as we put it the other night on the air, kind of a 1 year hiccup, but it is funny how certain things can blow up, and that certainly did a year ago.
Yeah, and he's had 1 year hiccups with everybody he's probably ever talked to, me included. We've all been in Jerry's doghouse, but it doesn't last very long. Jerry lets you out pretty quick. Let's get to the Zeke thing. So reports are that he is in Cabo, and Ducey as well as anybody, the Cowboys and Cabo don't have a real good history. But is this a good move? I mean, why Zeke's down there training apparently, but is the whole lockout thing, does it make sense to you? Is he taking the right stand here?
It's a surprising stand to me, just because I thought, for all of his faults and all of his off the field decisions, that everybody you talk to here, and it's just not stuff that guys are saying on camera. It's veterans who I think really understand the way the game works. They all, to a man, say that one thing about Zeke Elliott is he loves football. He loves to play football. He loves to be around the guys. He's a team guy. He's a great teammate. And so just from that, and I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong that he holds out. I understand from a business standpoint why he would, even with 2 years left and conceivably 4 years left under Cowboys control. I mean, he understands. His representatives understand how tenuous his position is his situation is in terms of injury and all of that, and the way that they use him. But I'm surprised that he's holding out. I'm not surprised that he go to Cabo. Now it's a point counterpoint, a chess game thing where they say, okay, we're going to get out of the country, and then the Cowboys sign Alfred Morris and say, well, we'll bring a veteran in here. And Jerry says with a straight face, we don't need Zeke essentially to win a Super Bowl. Nobody believes it, but they all say what they have to say and do what they have to do in these situations.
From a business standpoint, everybody gets it. Zeke but he signed his rookie contract. He is grossly underpaid by what he's delivered. But from a PR standpoint, this is a nightmare for him, right?
I guess,
or is it?
But the people who are going to criticize Zeke are going to criticize him whether he's going to Cabo or not. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know
right
how
about
many
that.
I don't know how many people are going to think, well, before I was on Zeke's side because he wants to have his contract negotiated midway through, but now that he's gone to Cabo, now I'm going to blast him.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
We're against him to begin with, yeah.
Mike, I'm going to take a crazy right turn here. The TCU's got a new freshman quarterback from Council Bluffs, Iowa.
He used to be the beat writer there, Ducey did.
That's right. Tell us about the Metropolis and your experiences in Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Believe it or not, my mother was born in Council Bluffs.
Is that
Iowa.
right?
Her family had a long history there. So I've been to Council Bluffs a few times as a child to see my great-grandmother and my Aunt Catherine and Uncle Clarence. I still remember their home distinctly up on a bluff there in Council Bluffs, aptly named. It's one of the Twin Cities of Omaha and Council Bluffs, as you might know.
Twin Cities,
That's
right.
pretty much the extent of my knowledge.
So are you denying rumors that we're starting right now that you had anything to do with the recruitment of this Council Bluffs prospect to TCU?
Mm-hmm.
That's a different part of the state. Had he been from Mason City, maybe, because I have some pull in Mason City up there in northern Iowa.
Gotcha.
But out there in that rogue western part of the state where Hanson's from, he controls that part of the state. I control northern Iowa.
Control.
So I really can't take credit for the western
All right.
part.
Mike Ducey joining us here on PressBox DFW Live, the weekly podcast every Tuesday at noon. Cowboys have last 3 times they made the postseason. The following year, 6-10, 4-12, 9-7. Zeke notwithstanding, does this feel like a team that's ready to make the next step, or a team that's going to take a couple steps back?
I think with Zeke, it's a team that's ready to take the next step. I think, assuming they get something resolved there, I don't know how you could look at this team and not think that it's ready to continue to progress. I think the quarterback is going to be better.
Why do you think that? I want to feel better about him, but why do you think that?
Well, I think I'm the farthest thing from an expert when it comes to the position of quarterback, but just from the eye test, I mean, the ball seems to be coming out of his hand differently. I think working with Kitna really has helped him. I don't know if it's footwork. I don't know if it's actual arm motion. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be a different kind of zip on the football. And actually, I was talking to Jason Witten about that too, and he, I think, notices a difference in that regard. So if you believe that quarterback play is the most important thing in terms of determining, where a team goes, I think there'll be improvement there. Travis Frederick is back, presumably totally ready to go in the middle of that offensive
That's big
line.
too. That's as big as any story in training camp to me, is that they're Pro Bowl centers back, all pro centers back.
Absolutely. And for now, Tyron Smith's apparently healthy enough to still get the job done at left tackle, and so you would think their O-line would be in good shape. I do, if I'm the Cowboys, worry about depth at wide receiver. I wonder if they're putting a little too much faith in Michael Gallup, as young a player as he is, to be their clear number 2 wideout. I mean, Cooper's obviously, a solid number 1, and I like Randall Cobb as a good pro,
great pickup,
slot receiver. But between Gallup and I'm sure he'll be fine. But again, we haven't seen him a ton, and then I don't know where they go beyond the third receiver. Maybe there's a little bit of a concern there. I think the defense, this has been said a lot, they need to put more pressure on the quarterback. They need to force more turnovers. Lawrence needs to be really good, needs to live up to that contract. Quinn on the other side maybe helps there.
They need Randy Gregory, which is always a precarious situation to be in, to count on that guy. But he's exactly what they need when he's healthy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's incredibly productive on the rare occasion where he's actually able to play football. But yeah, I think if this defense can create more havoc and more turnovers, that's a huge difference maker too. But again, it's my opinion, and not everybody agrees with this, that no matter how you value the position of running back or don't, in this particular case, this whole thing falls apart if Zeke isn't here. That's just my opinion.
I think you're right.
Mike, this is Gil. Congratulations on your 50th year in local broadcasting.
Thanks, Gil. It feels like it.
And I've been here for all of them, I might add. Well, thanks. Your answer there was so long, it totally took all of my questions. So what about the special teams? No, seriously.
Break down the depth chart for us.
Right.
Or a lot of eyes right now in the absence of Zeke. Are people watching Travis Frederick and getting a daily update on how he's feeling? Because to me, that's a huge key in the season.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to do a sit down with him right after practice today that I'm really looking forward to. But just in the group settings where I've had a chance to hear him interviewed, he's really optimistic about his ability to come back, and it looks like he's in better shape than ever. Garrett was talking about this yesterday, and it's been said a lot, but the position of center is sometimes overrated, I think, and in football. I mean, they have to be such a smart guy and just in total control up there. And Frederick is that guy, and physically talented and as good as there is when he's right. And just the whole human element aside, given the fact that he probably wondered what his life was going to be like a year ago at this time, it's a great story.
Yeah, and as good as Frederick is, I mean, Zeke leads the league in rushes and in yards last year. So with Frederick back, we know how good he is. I mean, Zeke, the sky's the limit for this guy. He could lead the league, 3 out of 4 years, which is something Emmett did. So let's talk local TV sports for a minute and kind of how that's changing because like you said, when you started in this market 50 years ago, Ducey, it was a different landscape. You had to provide the scores because that's where we got the scores. How has that changed, and how do you keep it interesting?
Well, we've made a drastic change at our station.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't even do sports in the regularly scheduled newscasts on a regular basis. We don't do it at 6, and in our case 9 or 10. We do a 30-minute show every night at 10:30. It's called Free for All. Thanks for watching.
We're
Thanks
familiar.
for attending to watch.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us
10:30 to
on.
11, and it's great on a occasion like this where we're at training camp. Some nights during the off season it's a little tough to fill that time, but I think, and I don't want to come off as the veteran sports caster who's complaining, but what the hell? I think in some ways local TV gave away the franchise of sports. They didn't give away weather. We still put a lot of resources into weather. People still watch local news to get their weather. They don't watch the Weather Channel. They watch local news. But we decided that ESPN was going to be the place where people get their sports and their scores and their highlights. And I think a handful of news managers made that decision 20, 25 years ago. And it's been a self-fulfilling prophecy, ever since.
I've
and
never
that's
thought of it that way. That's a really good point. You're right.
I can't remember the last time I looked at Sports Center.
I don't either.
I don't watch it.
No, I watch.
Well,
I watch Fox News at 9 because it comes on at 9, and then sometimes Ducey's.
Well, I watch at 10:30.
Yeah.
But it's gone beyond, and you're right. It's gone beyond Sports Center now to the point where you can get a highlight anytime you want on your phone. But I think originally when the decision was made in local TV, that was the rationale. And now, you do have to try to provide viewers with something different. That's what we're trying to do. And I think on our good nights we do, and it becomes more discussion based. It becomes more of an extension of what we're doing right now, just talking about different issues. And if you get an interesting interview that you can put on the air, so much the better.
Yep, exactly right.
But
So you're in Foxnard for the Cowboys. The Rangers are plummeting, doing their sometimes semi-annual nosedive here as it warms up. Has baseball season officially melted into football season?
It's funny, and you guys all realize this. It's most years, the Rangers obviously have had some really good years in the last 15. It seems like more often than not, you just pray in our position that the Rangers are interesting until training camp
Exactly
starts.
right. Exactly
But I remember
right.
one year, and I think I remember this correctly, in Austin, actually being at St. Ed's for training camp, doing a talk back with Kenny Rogers after he pitched his perfect game. So even then, we were covering football, which is kind of a slap in the face of the franchise. But yeah, I don't know, man. The Rangers, considering this is a franchise that's opening a new ballpark next year, there's just very little sizzle around this club right now. And I like the manager. He kept it going longer than I thought he would this year, but still, in some ways, I think we've let maybe John Daniels off the hook a little bit. Had the Cowboys taken a similar dive as the Rangers have, I think people be up in arms. But I still sometimes think people look at the Rangers as just kind of, hey, let's go out to the ballpark and have a good time.
It's like
And
a
they'll do
summer
that now with
amusement
the new
park,
place,
isn't it?
too.
Yeah, let's watch some fireworks, take the kids, and hopefully they win. But
Yeah.
they don't, no big deal. It's a good trip. All right, Ducey, we enjoy you every night, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll be watching Free for All, and we'll be watching, looking for your Travis Frederick sit down. It's good stuff. Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. I'll keep
Thanks,
the
Mike.
answers shorter next time. Appreciate it.
There you go. We're
Thanks,
gonna
Joe.
put him
Thanks,
on a
Ricky.
word
Appreciate
count.
it.
All right, there he goes. Mike Ducey,
Yeah,
Fox
bye-bye.
4 sports director. Now that Ducey's off the line, can we talk about who picked those photos of him to run during this?
Yeah.
Was that at all distracting to you, John Henry?
I didn't hear a word he said while those pictures were up.
So I haven't picked that picture just so we would, in case Ducey got boring, at least his photographs would be entertaining. I think that worked exactly like I planned. All right, read our writing daily at PressBoxDFW.com. Watch us weekly right here. Tuesdays at noon on PressBox DFW Live. Next up, let's get the pregame meal. Trading deadline tomorrow. Rangers, are they buyers? Are they sellers? Or are they just a done deal?
Pre-game meal. I could use one right now.
Yeah, I could too.
The Major League Baseball trading deadline is Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. As we sit, the Rangers have done nothing. It brings to mind many past trading deadlines where what the Rangers did was actually important. They have been in the past. They've done it both ways. There've been a reasonable amount of sell-offs.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was on this date in past years. They traded Yu Darvish. They traded for Cliff Lee, and they even traded one time for Christian Guzman.
Yes, they did.
And so they've had some swings and misses, and there he is. Does anybody remember the Christian Guzman story?
I just remember I was on the radio at the time, and I remember my partner saying Christian Guzman is the veteran glove that's going to push this team over the. And I don't even think he even played.
Push them where?
He was
Pushed them out
terrible.
of the playoffs. Yeah, he was terrible.
He was terrible. He hit 154, if I'm not mistaken, and more than that, he arrived uninspired, disengaged,
Never good.
and somehow he managed
We have
to
experience in all
irritate
that.
then manager Ron Washington, who couldn't believe that the guy had just totally shut it down. And so when the playoffs came around, they shut down Guzman and
Not
sent
even
him
on the
home.
he wasn't even on the playoff.
They just
roster.
sent him home. They
Right.
said, see ya. It was, don't let the door hit you.
Yeah.
And he never played another inning in Major League Baseball.
That was it, huh?
That was it. Well, he showed up at camp, I think, and was equally disinterested, and that was the end of that.
He arrived uninspired and disinterested. That sounds like me at every time my wife drags me to a business happy hour.
It's a bad
But this
professional
shows you-
combination.
Yeah, professionally, it's really bad.
This shows you what a crapshoot the trading deadline can be, though.
Yes.
Teams go out and try and help themselves for pennant drives, and this is where an astute team, a seller, can really help themselves if they do it correctly. Of course, the most, we talked about it at the start of the show. The most famous trade was the Mark Teixeira trade that netted him Elvis Andrus, Matt Harrison, and Neftali Feliz, and they got Cliff Lee when everybody thought he was going to go elsewhere to the Yankees or whatever, and it got him to the World Series. Mm-hmm. And so, what are they going to do this time?
They're sellers, right?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
And I think they, John Daniels has known this for a while. He alluded last week or week before last to having I think he used the expression, we kind of knew who we were. And I think that the measuring stick here has to be, okay, if you do make the postseason, you have to win a wild card game, and then you have to win a divisional series. And they've been there before and lost the divisional series, and they came away from the season not feeling any better than
This
they
team
had.
didn't have to do it. This team makes the playoffs and loses a wild card game. That's a wildly successful season.
And
Some of us were
to what good?
predicting 90 losses.
To what good, though? I mean, is it gonna?
I didn't think the bar was set that high for this team.
It's not. But 3 months of good baseball, I think they've done their job. They've accomplished what
Well,
they
the bar
could.
was set really
And,
low.
they're not plummeting.
Plummeting back to 500.
They're back to 500,
Yeah, you're
and
right.
they are a 500 team.
They
and,
teased us for a
and
while, but
that's
yeah, you're
better than people thought
Than
they
the
were going to
90
be.
lost
Absolutely.
teams, some people
Yeah,
thought.
Right.
Absolutely.
I was among them.
I think the real tragedy of the season has been so far that They didn't get their young players that they were counting on to really take a step up have not taken
That is the most
that
disappointing
solid
part of
step.
the
And we're
season.
talking about Rugnet Odor,
Yep.
Nomar Mazzara,
Yep.
and Ronald Guzman.
Guzman.
And
Yeah, that's what John Daniels said when he was on our show. He wasn't really worried about wins and losses, but the organic improvement from within he needed to see in those players going forward. And now what do you do with those guys? I mean, we get on Odor. I'm the worst Odor hater here, but Mazzara hasn't. He's shown no progress in 3 years now.
Same guy.
I'm stagnant. Yeah.
his numbers suggest that he's the same guy. On the other hand, he wasn't hitting 460-foot home runs in the past, which he suddenly seems to be able to do on occasion.
Still counts for one run.
Correct.
So sorry with your exit velocity. and
Correct.
your-
But think about
Not
it.
yours, but,
Think about it. On a team with overloaded with left-handed hitters, particularly left-handed hitting corner outfielders, where would you put him right now? I would say he's their fourth best left-handed hitting corner outfielder. I'd
talking
put him
Mazzara?
behind. I'd
Yeah.
put him behind Gallo, Chu, and Willie Calhoun.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
I mean, I think Willie's got a great hitting tool. I think,
He's actually a hitter
yeah. I mean, now
with a two-strike
and
approach.
Nomar doesn't have a, he's not a plus fielder.
Right.
He's got a good arm, but he he doesn't have great range, and so I got to think that if there are people out there now, he's only 24 years old, and I got to think that over the next 27 hours, if people think that they can fix him, if they think they can develop him,
Yeah.
I got to think that he would be a valuable chip in a trade.
Sure.
And I have a target that I wish they would go after.
Wow.
Someone that would really help the team, and it would involve shedding some people that they maybe don't want to do away with. But I just think that they've got to. His name has been mentioned, and I'm talking about Mansfield's own Noah Syndergaard, who's with the Mets.
Okay.
I mean, who knows what the Mets are doing right now? They made a
Yeah,
trade
no
the other
kidding.
day
It's crazy.
for Marcus Stroman,
Yep.
and there's a feeling that they will shed one of their other starting pitchers now, and I'm not exactly sure what their feeling is on Syndergaard. Everyone seems to think that another starter, Zach Wheeler, because he's going to be a free agent soon, that they might get rid of him. But boy, I would be all in on Noah Syndergaard. I mean, he's a local kid.
Of course.
He, I think that was Wheeler there. He, the only thing wrong with Syndergaard is he maybe needs a haircut.
But you're not talking Syndergaard from Mazzara, not something that crazy.
Oh no, I don't think they would do that.
You're just saying that's somebody you would like.
But,
If they are buyers, you'd like to see them take a stab.
Well, I
at
don't
it.
know. We're not privy to those conversations, so I don't know what people are asking and whatever. But I would certainly put Mazzara in with a prospect.
Sure. But
And-
isn't the
and see-
thinking that, I mean, one of the Rangers, if they're going to be sellers, and we think they are because they're going to try to,
They're going to try to make a
This
deal.
is the time of year when you bolster your farm system. You know you're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs. Isn't Mike Minor, isn't he available? Aren't they going to make him available?
Sure.
Well, isn't trading Minor and acquiring Syndergaard, aren't you just kind of balancing, don't those just kind of cancel each other out?
You would think that the Mets would look at it that way, and I think that would be a deal that the Rangers would look at. Syndergaard's got 2 more years of arbitration, so he's controllable longer than Minor is right now. Plus, he's a local kid, so the likelihood of him signing with them when he hits free agency, I guess in 2024, 2023, is the likelihood is good, and I think they need to go for it. I mean, the Mets may not even deal Syndergaard; they may just deal Wheeler, but I think that would be a great target.
Sounds like you should call and facilitate that deal. That's what I think you should do.
Yeah, right.
Well, we always talk about local kids real quick, and like Syndergaard's from Mansfield, so what if he didn't like it here growing up? Did you love where you grew up?
Well, sure I did.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't love New Orleans?
Did you love where you grew up?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You did.
Oh yeah.
Ask me if I love where I grew up.
Do you love where you grew up?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
All right, maybe you're right.
No, we and
There's some
Syndergaard.
kids who like, as soon as I graduate high school, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't love it. Like, we used to assume that
That's
everybody
true.
wants to come home and play for their home team, but maybe his favorite team was the Braves,
And
and he didn't like Mansfield, and he's like, there's nothing.
In 2 decades, they're like, yeah, I kind of liked it at home.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I was reading a couple of stories on the internet, and I was listening to the baseball, the MLB network on Sirius XM.
Okay.
And they all said that they think the only thing that's wrong with Syndergaard right now is he just needs a change of scenery. And
old
he
change of
tweeted
scenery, yeah.
he tweeted the other night in the midst of all the trade talk. He tweeted he had a kind of a mysterious message where he put at the bottom hashtag Dallas/NYC. And
What do you make of that? Since you're a hashtag expert.
yeah, my hashtag. But I mean, why would he
Maybe
even
he's gonna
mention?
split
Why
his
would he
time
even?
between-
What does the
Dallas
fake
and
O.J. Simpson think of that trade
You know,
or that tweet?
Since
Yeah,
the
that tweet,
Astros
yeah.
are
Fake
since
OJ.
the Astros are seem to be trying to get Syndergaard
Yeah.
too. It's interesting that he didn't just put Texas.
yeah.
He put Dallas. Of course, he got that wrong. They're in
He got
Tarrant
his own
County.
tweet wrong.
Are we sure he's from here? With that Dallas.
What is it from Mansfield?
Yeah, you
You know,
should have
that's-
put Mansfield in
that's-
the whole.
yeah, that would've
country
really-
going, what? All right, there
But
you go.
yeah, he's I think this would be an attractive destination.
Let's get some
for him.
Syndergaard, and we'll have him on here to see if he liked where he grew up. Next up on PressBox DFW Live, we're going to go into double dribble, and I'm going to tell you 2 words: tricky, and then I'm going to say Dicky.
So, of course, Texas high school football just around the corner. And one of the favorite football traditions is for the team to run through that banner.
Yes.
The banner decorated by the cheer squad or the
Yep.
pep squad or whatever, and they hold it and they run through there to make their entry. And
And there's a technique to this, apparently.
there is.
It's not that difficult.
Oh, I don't
of a
know.
premise.
You need the right paper.
So, a youth football team trying to, I'm sure their coaches trying to teach them all about the tradition in addition to
Yep.
the game itself. Tried this out. I'm not exactly sure when it was, but I discovered it on the World Wide Web the other day. And
I saw this.
This is
hear
is
this
tremendous.
Oh, the other way.
I mean, you couldn't choreograph
I like
that.
the ones that circle around, and come at it from the other direction.
One guy just tried to change direction and fell down, and I don't think he ever got up. He didn't even get to the sign.
Hey Zeke, can you show that again? You got to watch the coach too. At the
Oh
end.
yeah, no, the coach is.
Oh, the coach?
This is
Oh,
the
yeah.
opening kickoff. He's already throwing his
Watch.
hat.
He's like, no, over there. Okay, now watch.
point.
Now watch.
Come on, guys, we've been through this 100 times. We practice this.
We can't even get that right. How are we gonna do the? How are we gonna get
Oh
the?
my god! Yeah, I mean,
wishbone
that's the
down.
definition of herding cats, right there. Can you
But if
imagine
you're
what
a
his
parent,
practices are
if
like?
you're a parent, this is why you signed the kid up,
Yeah,
right?
you're filming like
For
to send
moments
this
like
to
this.
grandma. You're so proud.
They'll talk about this forever.
family movies.
Mike Ditka getting it done down there. Yeah.
Throwing the hat was classic.
Did you ever coach a kids team?
Oh yes.
Oh, we got to talk about that sometime.
We should talk
because,
about that
yeah,
sometime.
there's a zillion stories.
Cheerleaders are like not dating any of these guys when they get older. They're all
right.
lunatics.
Asking, they need to ask for directions. You need to ask for the directions. Is what they're saying.
Yeah. Oh my god.
All right.
So-
All right, that was a good
Anyway,
double dribble. Oh,
okay.
you're gonna top that? Go ahead.
Can't top that.
Cannot top that.
This morning I wrote about a book I read over the weekend about Richard Nixon and After the Fall. It's a good book written by a Fort Worthian guy named Casey Pipes. He grew up on the southwest side of town, went to Southwest High School, went to school at Harvard and some other Ivy League institution, and then worked for George W. Bush and decided he wanted to write books. So I read this book, and it's he delves into never before seen papers that Nixon had written and only the family could give permission to researchers
Oh, wow.
to view them.
Okay.
So you can't like go to the Nixon library and say, pull out the Nixon retirement papers.
Can I interrupt you real quick? It's kind of making me nervous how Lee Harvey's staring at JFK today.
It is kind of
He's
ominous.
like very ominous. He's right here. Look at him. He's like staring him down. And then what is Jim Sundberg doing?
Jim Sundberg is the catcher, waiting for the magic bullet.
What's he
How you
gonna catch? That's too dark. Go ahead. They're having their own
Hey,
thing
they just
while you
showed up
talk.
that way. I
Oh,
didn't put them
yeah,
out that
they
way.
did.
So anyway, I wrote this morning on, in several instances, the author makes reference to Nixon's love of football, and of course, the most famous is his appearance at the
Oh, yeah.
the game of the century.
Yep.
Texas and Arkansas, number 1 and number 2 in Fayetteville. Texas came back and won, and in the locker room was
What year was that?
1969.
Yeah.
And in the locker room was the president with a plaque presenting Texas as
Presenting
the
this plaque,
national champion.
I want to say first that
Can you imagine this happening today?
the AP and the
Actually, I couldn't with the
UPI
current occupant.
Yeah, the current
He would love to get a
occupant,
piece
Oh,
of
yeah.
this
section.
He'd call it the Trump Bowl. He'd have his own bust he would give you.
and
I'm
Who
trying
had the
to
balls
figure-
to
100th year of
dub
football.
this in
I also want to
1969
say that
the game of the
having seen
century?
this
Well, I can
game,
tell you how
It
this came
stuck,
about.
but it's
convinced me
ballsy,
that
right?
Texas
Go ahead.
So
deserves that
one of Nixon's political advisors decided it would be a good idea for him to go to the South and watch a football game, because the South was kind of up in arms. It was up in for the taking
Gotcha.
with civil rights
So it was
legislation.
a
and everything else.
political
It was a
move.
political ploy,
Gotcha. Okay.
political scheme, and they got lucky. This game fell in their laps.
Gotcha.
The number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation from the South, and of course Texas won, which was even bigger. And so he decided he was going to not only attend the game, but whoever won, he was going to present a plaque as a national champion. No bowl games have been played yet. This was in early December.
Do they
That's
claim that
crazy.
one? Is that one on the wall somewhere in Austin?
Well, they actually did go on to win it.
Yeah.
And it really,
Yeah,
true.
it really pissed off. It pissed off Joe Paterno, because he thought that ploy swayed the influence of voters at the end of the
Yeah.
season.
I'm
They
sure
finished,
it
they
did.
finished number 2.
Yeah.
And Paterno later on said, when Nixon got in all that trouble with Watergate, he says he can't understand. I'm going to paraphrase. He can't understand how Richard Nixon knew nothing about Watergate, but knew all about college football in 1969.
With the rankings figured out.
I'm trying to figure out how they landed Air Force One in Fayetteville.
They actually landed it in Fort Smith,
Oh, okay.
and
that makes
and
sense,
the Marine One, the helicopter picked them up there, and they landed at some
Okay.
practice field or something.
I
in
mean, I was
Fayetteville.
5 years old when that game was played, but I remember thinking this must be like a big event because the president's watching this game. I mean, it was
Right.
huge.
Yeah, and it was. So one thing I learned from this book that I did not know was Nixon and Woody Hayes were good friends.
What a
What a couple,
Odd
right?
couple.
photo right there. Those two. One guy will punch you in the face, one guy will lie to your face.
That's right. And when Woody died in 1987, Nixon had made his way back. He had recuperated his image and everything else, and his family asked him to give a eulogy.
Yeah.
The main eulogy. And Nixon and Hayes had met 30 years ago, right after Ohio State beat Iowa in the first year that they won. Actually, it was Woody's second national championship. That picture there is at Columbus.
Yeah. So they were actually friends. They weren't just political.
No,
partners.
they were good buddies. Yeah.
Spoke at Woody's funeral. I did not know that.
Spoke at Woody's funeral, and of course Nixon's eulogy was more about himself as
Sure.
Woody.
Right.
Although they shared very similar scandals and downfalls, and
They did, yeah.
And,
They had a lot in common.
Woody of course got shoved out the door when he punched the Clemson nose guard at,
Charlie
in the
Bauman, I believe was his name. Yeah.
Charlie Bauman
Yeah.
in the Gator Bowl. But so he gave this very powerful tribute to Woody Hayes, and he was privileged to know the real Woody Hayes, the man behind the media myth, which he could have been talking about himself.
Yeah.
instead of a know-nothing Neanderthal, I found a Renaissance man with a consuming interest in history. Has anybody called Woody Hayes a
Renaissance man.
That's what
No.
you call political spin.
He's the
I
most
think.
throwback, rockhead, grass and blood football coach of that's the guy you think of.
He was.
Nothing Renaissance about that.
So anyway, that's why I wrote this morning, Nixon and football and Woody Hayes. Go read it at PressBoxDFW.com.
It's a good story as always. Oh, and by the way, I finally got around to reading your last week's story, your preview or your recap
Oh,
of
yes.
all 60 Cowboys training camp. And I was like, that must have taken you like years to research. I mean, I was very impressed. It was very thorough.
Took several months.
I aged while I was reading it.
Once
but
upon a time.
Yeah, it was
Took
once
several
upon a time. It's good stuff. PressBoxDFW.com. And again, thank you for watching the vodcast right here at PressBox DFW Live. Next up, we'll step into Wits End. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but they're tiptoeing around being Doomsday 3. Wits End, sponsored by the good folks at Lifetime Fitness in general and the best trainer in the world, Lindsay Siegel. There she is. Not too late to work on your bikini body this summer. A free, I said free, F-R-E-E, free training session at the Lifetime Fitness Mockingbird and 75 there in Uptown Dallas. Don't have to be a member. Just go see her, call her up for the best sweat of your life. It's Lifetime Fitness. It's Lindsay Siegel. There's her phone number. She said, just call me up. Tell them you saw my ad on PressBox DFW Live, and you get a free workout. It's a nice place. I saw Mark Cuban playing basketball there the other day. It's a true story. All right. What I wrote for today was, and y'all probably rolled your eyes when you saw this, that the Cowboys defensive line reminds me a little bit of the 90s Cowboys defensive lines. Gil, when you read this, were you cringing about to just hit delete when I sent this in?
Yeah, I had to write the headline on it. And I'm not as hot on the hot boys
I hate the
as
name.
the hot boys are on themselves.
I hate any self-proclaimed, nickname like
Yeah,
Hot Boys. That's
they've
really,
got-
yeah.
They've got T-shirts and
Oh,
hats
yeah.
and whatever.
They got to
and
do something first, and let us name them, not them.
Jalen Smith has got so much hype swag.
He does.
Swag.
He does
that
have
it's-
hype swag. Exactly
he's.
right.
I mean, his whole being is wrapped up in
Yep.
in his brand.
Yep, you're exactly
And
right.
and I'm very wary of people that worry about their brand before they
Yeah.
worry about their
Their mantle.
mantle.
Yeah, put something
Good
on it
word.
first.
Good word.
So we covered the 90s Cowboys, and we know that Aikman, Emmett, and Irvin, they get the bulk of the credit for those 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, as they should. But it was the defensive line that really Jimmy Johnson called the defensive line the backbone of that dynasty, and it was because of Tony Tolbert, Tony Casillas, Russell Maryland, Jim Jeffcoat, Leon Lett, Charles Haley, Jimmy Jones, Chad Hennings.
It's a lot of rotation right there.
Those are 8 guys who could start for any team in the NFL, and they just rolled in. I mean, in waves, they just came at you. And they were the number 1 defense. There's Charles Haley in the Super Bowl, by the way, giving a little touchdown to Jimmy Jones.
Yep.
The depth and the speed, the athleticism, they all had different skill sets, but those guys made, I mean, you remember covering these games. They made mortals out of guys in the playoffs named Brett Favre, Steve Young, Jim Kelly. I mean, because of the pressure on the quarterback, Larry friggin' Brown's the MVP of the Super Bowl. I mean, nothing he did. It was pressuring Neil O'Donnell. So, but now, Cowboys last won Super Bowl in 95. Since then, they've tried to rebuild that depth on the defensive line in comedic failure. Kavika Pittman was drafted. Ebenezer Ekubon was drafted.
Wow.
Anthony Spencer, Marcus Spears, Greg Ellis had some good years, but the Cowboys have tried to rebuild that, and it just hasn't worked out. But I think they're closer now to the 90s rotation than they've been in 25 years. That's as far as I can stretch this silly putty. DeMarcus Lawrence, we know he's a beast, right?
Yep.
Robert Quinn on the other side had some really good years with the Rams, really good years with the Dolphins. He's joining them in free agency on the other side. Randy Gregory, we've seen what he can do, flashes of him. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the quickness. He can just harass a quarterback. But again, he's indefinitely suspended by the NFL. So he's going to appeal for reinstatement. But if he gets back and you have Gregory on one side, DeMarcus Lawrence on the other, Robert Quinn, that's the three. That's the most talented and most feared three-headed pass rusher in the NFL.
Well, it depends on what Quinn turns out to be.
Right.
Don't you think he's got something left? Or you
If
think,
he's healthy.
yeah, if he's healthy.
Does
But-
Randy Gregory have the mental makeup to play in the game at all?
No. To play the game, yes. To stay in the league, I don't know. Those are different questions.
I don't know.
I was doing this story and I looked up Randy Gregory. He got drafted in 2015. That was 4 seasons ago. He's played 14 games in his NFL
Right.
career and 4 suspensions. So I don't know. Y'all, Jerry at his State of the Union the other day in Oxnard said he's doing all the right things. I expect him to come back and make a big contribution. It's fool's gold to count on Randy Gregory, isn't it?
For the most part, yes. I think the list which you enumerated in your column this morning is it's good if all of them perform to utmost capabilities.
They max out.
If they max out, I just don't think the list is deep enough.
No.
And proven enough to measure up to any conversation about the 90s.
And again, I'm not saying they're there. I'm saying this group is as close as we've been
in 25 years.
Yeah.
Right. Well, of course, we're not exactly talking about
That's what I'm saying. We're talking Kavika Pittman and Ebenezer.
we're not talking
Ekdom.
about doomsday, too.
Right. Randy Gregory, Robert Quinn, DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyrone Crawford, solid, not spectacular. Malik Collins, good run stuffer. Antoine Woods, good run stuffer. The 2 real question marks, other than Gregory, are Taco Charlton. What the heck is he going to be? This is his sink or swim year.
Released.
He might be released.
Might be.
And then, of course, they drafted Tristan Hill from Central Florida, the 58th pick overall.
Very questionable. 50.
Very questionable. If Taco Charlton and Tristan Hill can play, this group has a chance to be good. Now, again, those are big ifs. But the other troublesome part was the last time we saw this defensive line, they got steamrolled by the Rams in the playoffs. They entered that game, the number 5 run defense in the NFL, and they gave up 115 yards to Todd Gurley, which a lot of teams do. Gurley's great. But they gave up 123 to a guy named C.J. Anderson who didn't have
Signed
a
the week
job.
before?
Signed the week before. And they gave up 273 yards rushing in that game. So, again, a lot has to be proven by this Cowboys defense. But, you know what? I hate to say this, but they would be better if they had a guy named David Irving.
Yeah.
He was talented.
Right.
Yeah.
But
he
what a
could play.
knucklehead he was. The Cowboys have to bear some of the responsibility for drafting these guys, or at least signing these guys. David Irving he just decided, I like marijuana a lot better than I like playing football. And he went on social media and said it.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I'm going to smoke and y'all can have football if you want. He's a waste.
Yep.
Totally.
But, he was doing TV ads.
Oh,
With this lawyer,
Those
right?
are the worst ads in the history of TV.
Awful.
Did they not?
Awful.
Ben Abbott was the lawyer, right? I should have got a clip of this.
I think so.
Ben Abbott sitting there like 4'2" in a suit, looking up at David Irving, who's 6'8", wearing this giant gold chain, and they're trying to have like a rational conversation about car insurance, and it was just the most awkward, horrible commercials.
The Law Hawk never would have had.
Yeah, the
David
Texas
Irving.
Law Hawk
Texas
would
Law
have.
Hawk.
Texas
never-
Hammer would have done that. No, Texas, nobody would have ever done that except for Ben Abbott. And now he's got another guy, another pitch man now. Maybe he's got Jalen Smith since he's working on his brand. All right, there's some wits in for you on PressBox DFW Live. Next up, it is time for the walk-off. Let's round the bases and head for home. The walk-off, sponsored by John Henry, searching for some comments on Facebook Live today. Shout out to Woody's, where I know they watch us every week.
We've had over 15,000 people that have watched the podcast just on Facebook
Yeah.
over these last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're getting many more in all our other outlets. I got a new internet radio the other day, and because I like listening to radio from foreign lands and things like that and keeping up with what's happening back in the homeland. And lo and behold, our podcast is available on their network. It's right up there with Bill Simmons and all these other podcasts.
Yeah.
And we were on there. and PressBox DFW
Good
Live.
for us.
And,
Yeah, we're everywhere. Everywhere podcasts are sold, basically. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher.
Well,
I mean,
actually, we're not
YouTube.
sold. I mean, you can
I know, that was
download
just a
us,
saying.
but iTunes,
We're sold for free.
Download us.
Absolutely.
Listen to us, and we're not half bad. In fact,
That's our slogan for our show. PressBox DFW Live. We're not half bad.
What I was trying to say was, just listening to the audio podcasts is we allude sometimes to things that we're watching.
Yes.
But really, it's a good listen as well as
the
a
podcast is good, but with these faces, I mean, how do you not watch the podcast?
I think our new mantra needs to be PressBox DFW Live, better than most lap dances.
That's not half bad, and a lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper. All right, check us out each week, PressBoxDFW.com. That's our writing. And again, thank you for watching. We're averaging about 6,000 Facebook Live views. So hope you like it. Hope you spread the word and continue to check out our writing and watching our podcasts. We'll be back next week for Season 2, Episode 9. We're getting closer to football. I'm Richie Witt for Gil Leberton and John Henry. We'll see you in the Press Box, DFW.